As time passes and life experience accumulates, the understanding dawns that true satisfaction lies not in the relentless pursuit of achievements, but in the art of letting go of the superfluous. In today's world, where productivity and activity are valued above all else, it is especially important to remember that in maturity, the priority shifts from quantity to quality. Now is the time for conscious enjoyment of every moment. Many things that seemed important in youth gradually lose their significance. Worrying about what others will say, engaging in pointless arguments, striving for material possessions, and trying to please everyone. All of this does not bring happiness, but only depletes you. The real secret to life satisfaction lies not in constantly striving for new goals, but in being able to free yourself from unnecessary worries and obligations. Ahead lies a deep analysis of 9 aspects of life that should be abandoned in order to find long-awaited peace, inner harmony, and true enjoyment of each day. After all, happiness in maturity is not about trying to do more, but about being able to direct your energy to what really matters. The desire to please everyone is a futile waste of time and emotional energy. From an early age, people are taught to look back at the opinions of others, but as life goes on, it becomes clear that this is a path to nowhere. People will inevitably pass judgment, regardless of actions and words. Even with the most impeccable behavior, there will always be a critic ready to point out imaginary shortcomings. Constant worrying about the opinions of others is an unaffordable luxury, taking away precious energy and preventing you from enjoying life. True freedom is gained only when a person ceases to depend on approval from others. There is no need to meet someone else's expectations because everyone has the right to live their own life, guided by their values. The sooner this simple fact is realized, the sooner inner peace and harmony arrive. It is pointless to try to please everyone, since everyone has their own worldview. Some people are ready to condemn without even trying to understand the motives and history. Moreover, there are those who simply cannot live without criticism, finding a kind of pleasure in it. The more attention is paid to the opinions of others, the less time remains for oneself and one's own needs. By allowing others to control their lives, a person loses touch with themselves and begins to live not as they want, but as it is convenient for those around them. This inevitably leads to stress, anxiety, and a sense of dissatisfaction. To avoid such a scenario, it is necessary to free oneself from this destructive dependence and allow oneself to be who one really is. True happiness comes when you stop worrying about what others think. Those who truly value you will stay by your side, no matter what. You should live as your heart tells you and not as others expect. You need to allow yourself to be happy without looking back at other people's views and prejudices. Ultimately, the most important thing is inner harmony, not fleeting opinions from the outside. The second important rule is to avoid participating in fruitless disputes and conflict situations. Often, verbal battles bring nothing but annoyance and a waste of precious time. As practice shows, people tend to stubbornly adhere to their beliefs, regardless of the logical arguments and convincing arguments that are presented to them. Sometimes there is an illusion that you only need to state your position as clearly as possible, and the opponent will certainly understand and accept it. However, unfortunately, this is not always the case. The emotional background often clouds rational thinking, and the interlocutor simply refuses to accept someone else's point of view. The longer a person is involved in a dispute, the deeper they delve into the conflict, which invariably entails negative consequences. Even in the case when the truth is on their side and they manage to prove their case, not every opponent is able to sincerely admit defeat. Being able to let go of the situation is a sign of wisdom, not a sign of weakness. The ability to refrain from pointless disputes allows you to not only preserve the nervous system, but also maintain harmonious relationships with people around you. In some situations, silence and indifference are the most effective response to provocations. It should be remembered that some people enter into a dispute not for the sake of finding the truth, but solely to satisfy their own ego. Their goal is not to understand the essence of the issue, but to demonstrate their superiority in intelligence and strength. It is important to realize that not every collision requires active participation. The energy that could be wasted on fruitless attempts to prove one's case can be directed to more useful and constructive goals. It is necessary to understand that personal opinion does not always have to be heard and accepted by others. Sometimes it's better to remain silent than to waste energy on those who don't want to listen. When a person consciously refuses to participate in disputes, they free themselves from unnecessary stress and tension. Inner peace and tranquility are far more valuable than the desire to change other people's beliefs. There is no need to convince people if they themselves do not show any desire for it. It's important to learn to react to conflicts with restraint and composure rather than giving in to emotions. The one who knows how to control their reactions always remains in a winning position. Inner peace is a great strength, available only to those who have learned to avoid getting involved in pointless arguments. Do not take on the role of an all-knowing savior and try to solve other people's problems. Each individual must independently go through their life path, facing difficulties and overcoming challenges. Even with the best intentions, the desire to help does not always bring benefits. Often, by saving a person from problems, we deprive them of a valuable opportunity to learn something new and become stronger. People truly appreciate only those lessons that they learn from their own experience. No advice, even the wisest, can replace personal mistakes and the conclusions drawn from them. By interfering in someone else's life, a person risks not only wasting their energy in vain, but also encountering misunderstanding and rejection. There are people who do not strive for change, but are just looking for someone to take on the burden of their problems. Of course, you can give advice and share experiences, but you should not take on other people's burdens. It is important to learn to distinguish those who really need support from those who simply use others as a temporary solution to their problems. Refusing to solve other people's problems does not make a person selfish, but demonstrates respect for the personal boundaries of other people. By freeing themselves from other people's worries, a person gains more energy and time for their own life. You should focus on achieving inner peace and harmony, rather than trying to fix what is beyond control. When a person faces difficulties, this is an integral part of their personal growth and development. It is impossible to live someone else's life instead of another person, and you should not even try to do it. It is important to maintain a neutral position, provide support, and share wise advice. You should let go of the guilt for not being able to help everyone. This is simply unrealistic, and a person is not responsible for it. The main task of everyone is to maintain their own peace of mind and allow others to learn from their own mistakes. The less interference in someone else's life, the more opportunities a person has for independent development and decision-making. Support is not salvation from all troubles, but the ability to be there without putting pressure or trying to control the situation. True help is not about doing something for another person, but about giving them the strength and confidence to cope with difficulties on their own. The fourth piece of advice is to abandon the pursuit of an unattainable ideal and useless lamentations. Perfectionism creates a deceptive sense of omnipotence, as if it is possible to foresee and prevent any mistakes. However, as life itself shows, it is impossible to predict the course of events, and mistakes are an inevitable part of the human experience, no matter how cautious a person may be. Constant expectation of a perfect result often turns into bitter disappointment and internal discomfort. The pursuit of perfection is a mirage that deprives a person of the opportunity to enjoy simple pleasures. In the pursuit of an unattainable ideal, they lose sight of the pleasure of the process itself. The stronger the desire for total control, the more tension a person experiences. Mistakes are not a failure, but a valuable experience, a stepping stone to personal growth. Fear of them can make you give up unique opportunities. You need to allow yourself to be imperfect because that is the essence of life. Endless complaints about the past cannot change it. They only cloud the present. The longer a person delves into regrets, the less strength they have to move forward. It is important to understand that past failures have shaped them as a person. You should stop mourning what cannot be returned. Life consists of ups and downs, and every moment is valuable with its trials and victories. Instead of dwelling on the past, you should focus on the future. While a person wastes energy on regrets, they miss the opportunities that today gives them. You shouldn't be afraid to move forward, even if the path seems unknown. You need to accept your life as it is, with all its flaws. It is important not to chase after the ideal, but to be able to rejoice in what already exists. You should stop looking for approval from the outside, because the most important thing is inner balance. True strength lies in the ability to accept oneself and one's shortcomings. Perfection is unattainable, but self-improvement is always possible. The key is not to dwell in the past, but to boldly look to the future, rejecting accumulation as a path to freedom and harmony. The desire to acquire material possessions, deeply rooted in modern society, often leads to the opposite effect. Instead of the expected happiness, a person faces a burden of worries and responsibilities. The seemingly harmless accumulation of things gradually turns into a heavy load, requiring constant attention, care, and financial costs. Years spent acquiring more and more items rarely involve questioning their real necessity. In contrast, true happiness lies not in the quantity of material values, but in the depth and richness of experienced moments. Memories of heartfelt meetings with loved ones, sincere conversations, and exciting travels are immeasurably more valuable than owning the latest gadgets or fashionable clothes. Simplifying life, getting rid of excessive material dependence, frees not only physical space, but also the mind, allowing one to focus on truly important things. Accumulated things create only an illusion of stability and well-being, while in reality they tie a person to the past, taking away their energy and time. A cluttered home deprives one of a sense of harmony and peace. Getting rid of unnecessary clutter brings a feeling of lightness and freedom. Minimalism, in turn, is not a rejection of comfort, but a conscious choice in favor of what really matters. Instead of surrounding oneself with soulless objects, it is worth focusing on creating warm relationships with people who bring joy and inspiration. True wealth is measured not by the number of things, but by the quality of life, the ability to rejoice in simple things and notice the beauty of each moment. The fewer things that surround a person, the more time remains for true joys and hobbies. Material acquisitions lose their value over time, while vivid impressions and memories remain with a person forever. The desire for experiences should prevail over the desire for possession. Time spent with loved ones is immeasurably more valuable than any material possessions. By giving up what is unnecessary, a person frees up space for what truly brings joy and satisfaction. Extra things are not only a physical burden, but also an emotional one that prevents moving forward. The lighter the baggage, the easier and more pleasant the journey through life. The desire to earn everyone's favor is a path devoid of a finish line and a sense of satisfaction. No matter how hard a person tries, there will always be those who remain dissatisfied. The obsessive desire to be convenient for everyone gradually erases individuality and deprives one of inner balance. Paying attention to one's own needs is not a manifestation of selfishness, but a conscious choice in favor of personal harmony. One should not feel obliged to meet the expectations of others if it contradicts internal needs. It is important to learn to refuse without feeling guilt or regret. People who truly value relationships will never demand sacrifices for their own comfort. They accept a person as they are, without imposing their own standards. Those who take offense at a refusal probably never took you seriously. Peace of mind is much more valuable than endless obligations and imposed expectations. The more a person tries to adapt to others, the more they lose their true self. It is necessary to free oneself from the unbearable burden, the obligation to please everyone without exception, because it is simply impossible. No one is obliged to justify their lifestyle if it brings comfort and satisfaction. Everyone has the full right to build their destiny according to their own rules and principles. The sooner this realization comes, the more freedom and independence a person will gain. When attempts to please everyone cease, only those who sincerely value and respect the individual remain in life. Obsequiousness is a treacherous trap that sooner or later leads to disappointment and devastation. It is important to surround oneself with people who respect personal boundaries and value individuality. Energy is a priceless resource, and wasting it on fruitless attempts to earn universal approval is a big mistake. It is much wiser to invest it in self-development, personal growth, and achieving happiness. True harmony comes when a person lives in accordance with their values and not with expectations imposed from the outside. The seventh piece of advice is to slow down the pace of life, which becomes a real challenge in the modern world, where speed is synonymous with success. People, striving for more, often miss the essence of the present, falling into a cycle of endless hustle and bustle, creating only the appearance of productivity and leading to exhaustion. It's important to realize that life isn't a race where speed is the only thing that matters, and true pleasure isn't about the number of tasks completed, but the depth of moments experienced. We need to make time to enjoy simple joys, such as the warmth of the sun, fresh air, and the laughter of loved ones, which fill life with meaning. Otherwise, in a rush, we can miss these priceless moments. Silence, leisurely walks, and sincere conversations enrich life, giving it a special depth. The ability to slow down opens our eyes to beauty that is often unnoticed in the hustle and bustle, the aroma of coffee, the morning dawn, the sound of rain outside the window. All this becomes valuable if you know how to enjoy the moment. A calm rhythm of life helps to restore inner harmony, while endless haste is exhausting. By slowing down, a person ceases to be a hostage of time and begins to be aware of it. In a world where everyone is rushing somewhere, the ability to enjoy the present becomes a real art. There is no point in chasing the future when the present is already here. Life is not about achieving goals, but about how a person feels it at the moment. A pause, a deep breath, and enjoying every moment. That's what matters. Slowing down is not a rejection of movement, but an opportunity to live life consciously and with joy. The less haste, the more opportunities to see and feel the world around us. Giving up unnecessary worries about the future is an important step towards harmony. The human mind is prone to building all sorts of forecasts, often colored with anxiety. Worry becomes a constant companion, even when there is no real influence on the development of events. However, anxious thoughts cannot change the inevitable, but only steal precious moments of the present. Uncertainty is an integral feature of the future, regardless of the thoroughness of planning. Expecting a negative scenario creates chaos of unnecessary thoughts in the mind, poisoning the perception of reality. Instead of drowning in worries about what has not yet come, it is more appropriate to focus on the current moment. Belief in one's own strength and trust in life is the basis of mental balance. Everyone has experience in overcoming difficulties. It is important to remember the ability to adapt and find a way out of any situation. Worrying about tomorrow does not add strength, but only depletes the body's resources. Instead of anxiety, you should pay attention to simple joys, the aroma of morning coffee, the smile of a loved one. Gratitude for every moment fills life with meaning and content. By letting go of anxiety, a person gains clarity of perception and ease of being. There is no point in spending today worrying about tomorrow, because it has not yet come. Wisdom lies in the ability to live here and now, believing that everything will turn out in the best way. The ninth important step towards a happy old age is getting rid of toxic relationships. The environment has a huge impact on emotional state and overall quality of life. It is necessary to recognize that not every relationship is worth preserving at any cost. While some people give joy, support, and inspiration, others, like energy vampires, suck the life out of them and create unnecessary stress. Toxic relationships are devastating and draining. If after communicating with someone there is a feeling of fatigue, anxiety, or irritation, this is a clear signal to reassess the appropriateness of such contacts. Mature age is not the time to tolerate those who poison existence. Don't be afraid to let go of those who don't appreciate or use you. The habit of clinging to obsolete connections is fraught with wasting precious years on people who do not deserve it. True friends and loved ones respect, support, and do not make you feel guilty for striving for harmony. The natural completion of some relationships is a natural process. People change, and not all fellow travelers stay with us forever. You should allow yourself to move forward, not looking back at those who do not bring positivity. It is important to surround yourself with people who make you happier, not those who constantly complain, criticize, or manipulate. It is necessary to communicate with those who respect personal boundaries, support endeavors, and rejoice in success. Genuine relationships are built on mutual respect, not on a sense of duty or inertia. Life is too short to waste it on those who don't bring light into it. True freedom lies in the ability to choose your circle of friends. Everyone deserves an environment in which they feel comfortable and are not forced to constantly justify themselves or prove their worth. Maturity is a time to enjoy life in the company of those who decorate it. Getting rid of toxic people will bring tangible relief and peace. Sometimes the best way to maintain mental balance is to simply let go of those who are no longer needed. Human existence is not an exhausting marathon in pursuit of recognition, success, or material values. True satisfaction comes not when an individual strives to embrace the ungraspable, but when they consciously prioritize and channel their energy in the right direction. By shedding unnecessary obligations, anxieties, and destructive relationships, one opens up space for serenity, genuine joy, and peace. It's worth ceasing to torment oneself with thoughts of the future, the judgments of others, and the seeming failure to meet external ideals. Each person's life is their own territory, and only they have the right to decide how to live it. It is necessary to allow oneself to slow down, to experience the fullness of the present moment, and to surround oneself only with what has lasting value and significance.